While everyone else is asking whether SEO is dead, he says they're asking the wrong question. It's all SEO.
I've heard SEO is dead. Like, I've been around a long time and it dies like every 5 years, but it's not. All SEO is a process. You cannot kill a process. It's just the process to get to the end result.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk-TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be watching this. This is Real Estate Talk-TGIF, episode 424, and this is our 418th week in a row. We are very excited to keep this going with great people and great guests and great friends. And that is what we have today. Tim O'Keefe was on episode 95, as I said a minute ago. And you got to understand something. When we talk about technology, right, there are people who help shape where it's going. And that's what we've got today. For nearly 3 decades, he's been one of the sharpest minds in search marketing, staying ahead of every major shift from Google to today's AI revolution. While everyone else is asking whether SEO is dead, he says they're asking the wrong question. It's all SEO. If you want to know how your business gets found in an AI-driven world, you're about to hear from someone who's been preparing for this moment for years and actually knows his shit and knows what to do. Founder of Spider Juice Technology. Welcome, Tim O'Keefe.
Wow, that was awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So tell me.
Great. I'm excited to be here. Honestly, we haven't talked in a while, and I'm looking forward to catching up.
So, man, as we start the broadcast, one thing I ask everybody, and I know I did it over 6 years ago. What does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's Friday.
Well, you are very close to that, but I'm sorry, 90% of the people do get it wrong. Thank God it's finale. It's my broadcast, my show, and it's always thank God it's me. So here we are. And I say that in jest, obviously. But my goal, since I started this broadcast over 8 years ago, was to bring value to not only the real estate community, but the business community, the mortgage community, the finance community, and just to bring common sense out and help anyone that's interested to build a business, to grow a business, to scale a business. There are so many ways to do it. And we have to understand that our business, no matter what it is, evolves. And if you're stuck and saying that today's real estate market is hard or it's difficult, you're right. If you're stuck in saying it's impossible, you're wrong. I know people that are scaling their businesses from 30 to 60 to 90 in this market. And Tim, people have to find you in order to do that. So as we talk about search engine optimization and Spider Juice Technologies and what you do, talk to me about how you got there. You've been here almost 3 decades. We started working together, I believe, in the late 90s. Talk to me about what's going on, man. And you.
Well, I have a very interesting, what I call skill stack or talent stack. And and everybody does. And that's what I try to teach everybody. You all have something that you do that's special if you've been in business any more than a couple of years. You've got certain things that the public wants, and you just got to get it out there. My personal thing, which goes back to I was a very good football player. I played D1. I've got my name up on all these things, and who cares? Other than what that did was, I got out of college, and I'm like, why me? And I got into psychology a lot. I reveled in being the jock. Right. Quite honestly, I reveled in. I just wanted to be the jock and play ball. Underneath, almost hiding my intellect. I didn't want to come off as the smarty pants.
Right.
And then I got into real estate. Actually, first of all, I came home and I got into a couple movies because we're in LA. This is what we do. Seriously, and they were football movies, and of course. And then I was waiting for my license, and I got my license and got married. And sold real estate, I don't know, 5 years. And then marriage was on the brink. And I'm like, I just wanted to reboot. So I quit real estate, started over. And meanwhile, I'm studying esoteric stuff like hypnosis, NLP, sales persuasion, like everybody does in the more normal means. And then this thing called the internet all of a sudden came up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm literally with the girl I'm dating, and we go into one of those coffee houses where it was a coffee internet cafe thing, kind of bohemian. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Come on, let's go in there. And turn it on, and it has the screechy noise, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be really, really interesting pretty soon, because the world, I think, is about to change. That was 95 or 6 or something, and they had Netscape was the browser, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just seeing the future before my eyes, just blowing up, going, man, how do I get on this, right? So jump forward a few more years. I was involved with some companies doing internet stuff. And then of all things, I got into recruiting, personnel headhunting. And honestly, you want to talk, I would still be doing that if it was not for the internet, because it's all the great things like real estate, except without the liabilities.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Without the paper this high full of disclosures, right?
Yeah.
And I loved it. I used because when I was in real estate, I was one of the biggest listing agents with my partner in the organization. It was a huge RE/MAX organization. And I just took those skills to recruiting, and I was blowing up. And then all of a sudden, my buddy turns me on to this site, or I had been asking him some stuff because he was on the internet and building websites, and he took a job he couldn't refuse. And I knew just enough to be dangerous. He handed off a sports site where I ended up managing and webmastering names like Eric Dickerson, Teddy Bruschi, Hall of Fame guys.
Wow.
And all it was just webmastering. And then I'm a salesman at heart, a marketer at heart. So then I started helping them monetize, doing drop shipping before anybody knew what drop shipping or the word e-commerce came about.
Right.
And then I got together at some point with my ex-partner, and he talked me into building this real estate site. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of realtors started finding me, and that's how eventually you found me, or we found each other. And the rest is history. I've been building and really building marketing programs and SEO programs for clients since the 90s.
When we started, one of the things that when I got into heavy duty into my brokerage that I had for over 21 years, I always looked at trying to be that guy, the person that everybody could find. Having the tech was a scary thing in the late 90s, early 2000s, because real estate agents just weren't catching up. They weren't there yet. You had maybe like 3 or 4 or 5% of the realtors that understood it, and it scared the shit out of mostly everybody else. But it did not mean it wasn't important to be found. And search engine optimization was something I heard about, learned about, talked about. And through the guys that were doing my website at the time, we found each other, and you started working with me and helped me get seen, helped me get noticed and stuff. So as SEO has gone, search engine optimization, you really don't hear today in 2026 a lot of information, a lot of things on, well, you've got search engine optimization, you got AEIOU, MOUSC, all this other shit that everybody's talking about. And then I start talking to guys that are really in your space, GEO, AIO. And, you turned me on to a name the other day, Bruce Clay. And interestingly enough, unfortunately, Bruce just passed a week and a half ago. So I just found that out. But it's all about being found. Everything we're talking about is being found, and it's behavioral as well, correct? Talk to me about how you have worked in that line and how you've been able to build your business. I'm sorry if there's a lot of background noise here, but I am outside.
It's great. So I learned literally a month ago before his passing that I always thought they call him the godfather or the father of SEO, search engine optimization. And I was doing a little research to have some fun with some little clips that I do, video clips, TikTok type stuff. And I wanted it to be around the beginnings of SEO. And I found out that I thought Bruce did it. He named it, but he didn't do it. Jefferson Starship, the rock band, is known as the first people, and they were on GeoCities or some of one of those old search engines, and they couldn't figure out why aren't they coming up for their own name. So they were the first to SEO a site and the first to spam the hell out of a site because they put their keyword Jefferson Airplane or Starship, whatever it was, all over the place, and thus SEO was born. But later on, I don't know the timeline, but Bruce named it that. It's the dumbest name ever. But the reason, so I've heard SEO is dead. Like, I've been around a long time, and it dies every 5 years. But it's not. All SEO is a process. You cannot kill a process. It's just the process to get to the end result. And so all that's changed, as it's always been changing, is Google changes or adds to the method of their distribution of their product.
Right.
And that's what's changed. And it's changed significantly, so much so that Google has, they won't call themselves a search engine anymore. It's an answer engine.
Right.
So all this AIO, GEO, it's a flex by my industry who loves their acronyms for some reason, and trying to be the Bruce Clay, if I can say that, just call them out. They're reframing so that they can own the space. So I'm the GEO king and this and that. But the actual rules of the game have not changed that much. They just require a hell of a lot more work. I'll give you an example. Recently, I think it was Google that said AI does not like commodity. Well, what's commodity? Sameness, right? So it wants differentiation. Well, how's that any different than a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago? Right. Good copywriting is interesting type of ways of describing what it is that you do. Right. And I mean, we can get into this is really influenced from my neuro-linguistic programming, another acronym, NLP background. But there's ways that we can phrase things from a branding standpoint. And by doing that, by being unique and novel, we can be interesting to the AIs. But this isn't any different than 2, 4, or 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
So let me ask you this question. So I want to use an example, right? So for the past 40 years or so or more, we've been using scripts for sell by owners, expireds and stuff. And the great man, Mike Ferry, started with all these scripts, and he's a complete script guy. And I'm a scripted guy too. And I learned, and made my bones with those scripts. And now it seems like Steve Shull and Chris Voss, who wrote a book called The Full Fee Agent, are changing the game. They're reversing the game on us, reversing the scripts, reversing rather than this yes motivated questions. We've got no motivated questions and all that. Now I use that as an example, right? So SEO, I don't think it's changed like that. We've turned the way we talk to people upside down with the evolution there. What is the evolution of SEO as far as this type of thing? Like SEO was, put your name everywhere. For a video, you needed a good hook, or for a post, you needed to catch people's eye. You needed to stop the scroll. You need to stop the thumb, whatever it was, right? So, I mean, with the scripts, it's turned over a little bit, but and getting that yes to get that appointment has changed from getting that yes to the appointment to building a relationship so people like you because they know you like them or care about them first. With SEO, is it the same? Has it evolved the same way, or has it changed?
Well, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the industry certainly has evolved, let's say.
Yeah.
But it's evolved largely on the back of the technology. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
there's technology that you might use off internet, and technology you use certainly on internet to try to capture hearts and minds. What has changed, I was in a conference in 2007, and I'm on film, and you could see my disgust because I was disgusted, right? And I was pissed off because all these platforms were starting to show up, and they had all these speakers there talking about these platforms like Facebook, like Twitter. And I was on them, but I was on them out of curiosity, and I don't know what to do with them at the time. And all these people were talking, and people were live tweeting, right? Where you tweet the seminar, and I'm like, and they're talking to each other, and the person's right next to them. I call it digital note passing, like in 5th grade. And I go, this is the most stupid thing I've ever seen in my life. And here we are 20 or something years later, and we're still in Stupidville. And the problem is that there's a lot of value that all this stuff gives, but it also gives a lot of the opposite. Maybe is for all the great stuff, it has equal or greater bad stuff, right? All arguing, the stuff like that. And so what has shifted though along with that is, and why I was disgusted, was because I saw the complication. I had a very rigid way of doing SEO because Google was basically, I don't even know if the ads were up yet, but it was basically if there was ads at the top, ads on the side, and then your 10 right, your 10 listings, and then you would go to page 2 and there's another 10, and so forth and so on. And Google started playing with the display such that now it wasn't so simple. And certainly social media has changed that, but it's even more so than people think, because what I'm doing now for my clients, largely because of AI, is a couple things opened up. There's ways to get Facebook to show up on Google, even your personal Facebook. Well, why does that matter? Well, because you can get, maybe not on a short tail like real estate, right? But what very AI type of question, or what we used to call, I don't know why everybody's changing it, but they're trying to own the AI. But we started doing questions in H tags on sites 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? Because Google had moved from keywords to mostly being about entities. Entities are, think of it almost like a thing, a noun, right? The way to know that it's an entity, Wikipedia has a page for it. That's the simple, the dumb answer. Like I said, I'm a jock at heart, so I like it simple. So so they were moving in this direction for years, right? Along comes was a 7-pack of local maps they would show. They moved that to 3, unless they throw a couple ads in there. Now it's back to 5, whatever. And they've always been playing with that. And then you have the PEA, people also ask, which is a forever infinity question section. And then maybe down below that is the organic that we all grew up with. So they've been screwing, and then they put pictures, depending, right, or videos, depending, all kinds of stuff that they'll throw in. And so they've already changed, and now everybody's just like freaking out. It's been happening for a long time, and it's the exchange of value that we as webmasters give to Google is not getting returned. It's not a fair exchange. That's not new. That's been going on for at least 10 years.
Right.
Okay. So now everybody's, SEO is dead, because no, they did another change, and they're not giving us the return that traffic that we're used to getting, that we want. It's still good. They still rule the roost. Now, the good news is we have other engines. But let me say this, because I'm just by habit, I skip over this. But Bing, remember, Bing is a big deal. Get in there. They've got a lot of stuff going on with their AI partnerships with OpenAI.
So it's funny because, you just went through a really quick history. And I remember Google AdWords, and I got into that when it first started, got to be in early 2000s. And I remember getting keywords, AdWords for like 5 cents, like, my town homes for sale for 3 cents, 2 cents. Now, I mean, if they still have it, it's probably $25 a pop. But the point I make is that it's stayed there, and I heard, I guess about 6 months ago, someone says, well, Google's dying. Google's not going to be around much longer. AI's taken over. And what you've basically been saying is that Google basically is still writing the book. I mean, there's another expression, we're building the plane as we're flying it. But I think Google's been doing that from day one, right? Have they always been ahead? Probably not. But tell me and explain to me that AI, if I'm correct, and SEO, AI is a tool for SEO. Am I getting that right?
Well, you got to ask again. I go back to SEO as a process, right? And dumbing it down, you have what's on the page, and then what's off the page,
right?
And so, way back in 2005, let's say, I famously was going around saying linking makes up for the sins of the website, because there was a lot of crappy built websites that were out there because people wanted affordable stuff. They still do, right? You pay whatever, 1,000, 500, 2,000 for a site, and then you see some companies spent 100,000. Well, how's that? Mine only costs $1,000. Well, you get what you pay for. And the problem is when we go into this, people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
I'm sorry, I lost the train of thought. What was your question again?
Google AdWords. Google is dead. Google is not dead.
You said SEO. AI is SEO.
Right.
AI is probably the most specific explanation of Google or any other one there is. But let's be clear, when we're saying AI in our context, we're not talking about coding. We're not talking about all that stuff. We're talking about an LLM, a large language model that could talk back to us, right? And the challenge with that is, like I said, we don't know what we don't know. And so we really have to get in order. You hear the words prompting, and you could, in the beginning, 2 or 3 years ago, you can buy these giant lists of prompts that were worthless, because if you don't know what you're looking for and you don't know what you don't know, then what's good is it? So I like to teach it as we need to be stoics. We need to ask questions and learn the art of questioning and taking it to another level, almost like an interrogator.
Yeah, so go into that. Is that we need to. That's one thing that I have really pushed for the past, I'm going to say 10 years, is the art of questions, right? People, here's what I say. People know what you do, and it's not what you do, it's how you do what you do and how you connect with who you do it for. And what people need is not for you to tell them, they need for you to be relational with them, which is basically, what you're looking at as far as the questioning. We need to be better at questions. So when that comes up for you, what questions are we not asking, or what questions are we stupid enough to ask or not ask?
Well, I don't know if this answers it, but I don't know what I don't know, right? So oftentimes I'll go into ChatGPT, which, it's what I started on. So it's the old thing in positioning that book, whatever's first is what you normally stick with. But as far as a name, I think it's the dumbest name ever. ChatGPT. For a while there, I was calling it Chatty, and I stopped doing that because I don't want to humanize these machines, because they are by their nature meant to flatter us, or in a more crass way, I call it amongst my crass friends, I'll say they're simping us. They're telling us what we want to hear. They give us delusions of grandeur. Here's the bottom line with AI. Again, AI being the language models that most of us are playing with. It is a compressed average of knowledge, right? So in the beginning, they were running 6 months or 3 months late. They licensed content from lots and lots of places, right? And then eventually they started getting search, and a lot of the time they're using Google to get their answers. So isn't that weird? They're using Google to get their answers. Well, Google uses SEO. SEO is what gets stuff into Google. So now we're back at SEO is what gets you into ChatGPT, right? Now they're developing their own bots and so forth and all that, and like all of them. But at the end of the day, it's all SEO.
All right. So I want to, we've talked about really what's changed, and what you said changed really hasn't changed. It's just another tool, right? And for people to get recommended, one of the big things that people are selling or telling people, well, is ChatGPT recommending you. But doesn't that, from what you just said, and what our conversation has been for the last 20 minutes or so, has been about SEO, AI, and AI to SEO, and chat is using Google. So isn't it, so to get recognized, it's not AI, it's still Google and search engines, right?
Right. And just to make it a little more complicated, and this is why guys in my industry that actually have been around and know SEO, we're giddy. It's the late 1990s all over again, except this time we're 20, 30 years, 30 years smarter. Right. And so as an example, Brave, the search engine, which you probably never heard of, is important for Claude. Claude tends to use Brave as its source. So now we got to get into more than one search engine. And guess what search engine took off in use right after Google went official with, and this is a month ago, I think, totally official of being an answer engine, not a search engine. DuckDuckGo skyrocketed in use.
I have heard of that.
Yeah. So it's a wild west again, and that's what gets guys who know what they're doing excited, like me.
So talk to me. What is DuckDuckGo? Since you mentioned it, let's get some context for everybody.
It's a search engine, and it's what I would call, I think it's generally known as, I think, an aggregator. I think it uses more than one search engine for its source, including Google, but they don't. It was really a reaction to the intrusions of Google into everybody's lives. Google is, okay, so before I say this, go out and buy Propaganda, the book by Edward Bernays, written in the 1920s or something. Okay, that should open your eyes to, and then read 1984. But Google is the greatest propagandist in the history of Earth, and as well as others have been able to socially engineer through their results and answers into the way that we behave and believe. If you realize that, then you'll see the things they do, as well as the other AIs now, because you got OpenAI, you got Anthropic,
Right.
Right. All the others, they're all doing propaganda. Like, and you hear all these scare things about AI is going to own it. That's just propaganda to get attention, to make them important. Okay, so their stock value will be there when they go public, and they're more interested in that than doing the right things.
Right.
I'm not saying don't be cautious. I'm saying it's not as bad, at least not now, as they're saying.
Yes. So someone that's sick into technology and has a lot of tabs open. I've got Anthropic, Google, Chat, Claude, all with tabs on my machine right now. And I just don't want. I just have some open the pages that I got to review. Sometimes I get to them and sometimes I don't. All right. So we've talked about all this SEO, and the reason that you and I got together in the beginning was to be found, but it was also for that big thing that everybody wants to be found because of their reputation, right? So talk to me about how all of this comes together with what you're doing for people and helping people with reputation marketing. Talk to me about that and where that's going and what you're doing.
I wrote this last night when I was getting my thoughts together for this. I wrote, where parasites, reputations, SEO, and AI merge. So years ago, I had a long-term client, and if you typed in his name into Google, the very first answer was a newspaper article that was very scathing of him. And he needed to go before the city people there and talk them into, I think it was probably a real estate development deal he was trying to get. And he needed to look like Prince Charming or the most amazing cuddly person ever. And this article didn't help. So I needed to push it down to page 3 or 4 or 5. You can't get rid of it. I don't own the article. I mean, you could, I suppose, hack it and do a denial of service, but that might mean jail time. So you wouldn't want to do that.
Probably not.
No. So I had to crowd the Google results for his name, which in this case was the keyword, the query. So how do you do that? Well, the good news is names usually aren't that popular, right? They're not super competitive like, Torrance Real Estate or LA Real Estate or something, but it's still competitive. It comes up for different things. So what I did was I created all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, on and on and on, and threw a bunch of articles in there. And I put in the minimum maximal, enough to do it. I didn't, not to make it a whole thing and a whole website or something, but enough for it to rank. And then I created another layer of sites, everything from video, pictures to audio, PDFs, PowerPoints, on and on and on. Anything that Google will look at, and sites that house those things, I use anyway SEO for a link. But now I've created how many web pages that were all his name that need to rank on these pages, and then other sites that linked to those, because it's about linking still. And then even maybe a third level, and some people call that link chaining or dovetailing or whatever. I've called it, and this is in the theme of creating your own vernacular, non-commodity. I call it link avalanching. How about that? It's like, you remember the cartoon? I think it was Roadrunner or something as a kid, and they put the little ball of snow and it would keep growing. So that's, in my mind, that made sense. So I call it link avalanching. And so we got him out. And I remember the call. I called him up and I said, guess what? You're on like page 3 now or 4 or something on the ugly site. And his answer was, and I will say this carefully, but you can fill in the words. He said, F.
You can say that word here. That's okay.
And I was like, I guess that's a good thing. I think it's the only time I've ever heard a curse word from him. And so the point, that's reputation, right? We're lowering that. Now, if you're on LinkedIn or not LinkedIn, LinkedIn, where somebody in there says that Joe Blow is the worst freaking human being ever, well, that's not Google, that's LinkedIn. Now you got an issue with LinkedIn, and that's when it starts getting more difficult. And a lot of times when you do that, the algorithm will somehow self-fix it, but some of that stuff fix, and then there's a rip-off report. I mean, these things are hard to get. So that's reputation. But inside of that, in the industry, we know stuff like as parasites. And a parasite is where I also will use reputation. So a parasite is something where I can go in and not have to pay a high price called linking, marketing. Linking is marketing, a high price of links to get it to rank. It's already a favored son, if you will, of Google. So because they're huge, like LinkedIn or Facebook or any of these that grow by the millisecond, right? And so by putting up something, you're not going to rank against Zillow with that, but you can rank on maybe a long tail word. A long tail word is usually more specific and longer. So best realtor in Brigantine Island, NJ. I'm making this up as right, but that probably gets some people typing it. Not a lot, but some, and you could probably own that on LinkedIn, right? And I say own it, I mean Google will rank it because Google ranks a lot of the socials, and so that's an example of a parasite. So guys in my industry go and get that best realtor or whatever, Brigantine Island, New Jersey, right? Own that page, and then go to David. Hey, David, you want to buy my leads? Or do you want to buy direct, access to the page? So it's a business model that a lot of people in my industry have used as a way to control the flow and have more control, because a lot of people will join up, get the initial thing. They're not rich overnight, and because it does take time in many cases, and they'll walk away. So guys in my industry find ways to try to mitigate the liability of running a.
So reputation marketing through SEO, through just putting out more content, let's say, like you did for your friend. And one of the questions one of the things we see a lot with a lot of AI experts, and I know a couple of them that are really freaking good. And they're either they're really good salespeople or they're just really good at it and they know how to get it to work. The question is going to be, when they're trying to sell you something, is ChatGPT recommending you in your area? So, Tim, I mean, can ChatGPT alone recommend me in my area?
Yeah. Just talked to, and I've introduced you to him, a guy in New York. He just talked to me yesterday, and he says, what you're doing in AI is giving us the best months that we might have ever had. And he's been around since 06, 07. So there's that way to crack it. It is using principles from SEO. See, the problem in industry, and I've sat as a consultant with clients going into big web houses, and the has no close.
Right.
When I start asking the specific questions, I get bullshitted all over the place because they don't know SEO. And this goes for I first started noticing this years ago when in the real estate industry, we used to have more, tons and tons of conferences, and there would be internet conferences, and that was the buzz that was pushing everything in 2002 and 3 and 4. Everybody was going to these places, and you had big ones and medium ones and whatnot, and you had these people going from show, I call it from show to show, and they're teaching SEO. And you could look on YouTube, you could see the same effect. If I'm doing a video every single day, how much into the art am I? Am I really in the art of SEO? Because it is an art. There's pieces of it, but there's a certain way I do things versus somebody else that's been around the block since, the 90s, like I have. A lot of the stuff will be the same, but there's certain things. I mean, and I learn stuff all the time. That's why I love this business. That's why I've been in it so long, because it's always changing with
Right.
the AI. So how do you do that? Get into Bing, get in, make sure you do all the stuff they ask you to do. Get into a Brave and so forth. Do queries for your brand. I just did a search. I was reviewing in ChatGPT, and I said, I'm going to be hiring a realtor soon to sell my house, other house across the street. I don't know why I said it that way. Maybe privacy or some, I don't know. I was just getting like paranoid, like, oh, now I'm going to be on everybody's list. But I said, I said across the street, and so who should I hire? Who's the best realtor? Something like that. And it named off a bunch of realtors, one of which I the name, Ray Millman, and he's been around since when I was selling real estate 100 years ago. And I asked it, so why are you picking that? Right. And other times I'll say, I disagree. Joe Schmo is the greatest realtor that ever lived. He got me, 10% over selling price or whatever, and I argue with it. And I often will do that in all of them for the bidding of myself or for my clients. I even have a fun thing, and I didn't follow through with it. I'm going to probably do it in July. Is Tim O'Keefe or Coach T the hottest SEO in town or in America? Or
like
right? That. And the double entendre of good looking versus hot at SEO, and then creating confusion around that. And like, God, I'm a grandpa. How am I? I'm the hottest, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you are.
And having fun with it. And I just got busy, and I haven't been able to sit down and think it all through. But that is a way to say the hottest, and and that hottest is best, and just playing with the language, and it's new language that the AIs are not used to, but you get them into with the synonyms. There's a thing in AI, they call it a keyword fan out. And you can literally take a look at like a Claude or a GPT as it's doing its searches. Well, a couple things. One of the things, I'm on the paid version. I can't remember if they do this on the not, but on the paid version, down below your query, it will say where it's going for its resources. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about, and it's telling you how it's thinking. And I'm like, wow, that's once I started paying attention to that. But the other thing is you can go into your source stuff, your developer stuff, and see the way that it came up with its answers from a keyword standpoint. And a lot of people call that a fan out. And so how it's coming up with its so I like to do that kind of stuff because I'm infinitely interested, curious on why it's saying the stuff it's saying. And like I said, I'll cuss at it. You fucking moron, stuff like that, to see how it's going to reply back. And, depending how you have it trained, and depending how it changes from model to model, also will indicate its responses.
So I went up on time, but I would want to ask you one thing. You give it a hard time. And before and I find myself doing the same thing. I find myself sometimes saying please and thank you, right? Is that humanizing something we should be doing?
I've done that. I will refer. I was on ChatGPT, and he told me, or she told me, and I'm like, stop. I've my family, do not let me say he or she or anything like that. It's it. because it's intelligent, it's just fast, and it just has, it's because it's so fast and it's trained in English and everything else, it's able to put words together real fast. So there's certain things in SEO that I will use because I know what to ask for. I know what I want, right?
Right.
Tell me, like a link gap, which is a generally known word. What's the link gap between this client and competitors? And a lot of times it'll be able to give me, okay, well, they have 100 more than you or whatever. And, you can do stuff like that.
So today was about SEO. Is, to me, from what we talked about and what I've learned over the years, is SEO is still the driver. It's just, it's the process whereby we get noticed, where our reputation gets built, where, we have different things, I mean, is AI ever going to replace Google? Is having a website enough? I mean, where are we at with that kind of thing? Will AI replace Google? Personally, I don't think so, if not from what we've talked about.
Well, like I said, Google is the best propagandist on earth. A few years ago, there was a fella who was a whistleblower and said he talked to one of their robots, if I recall the story correctly, and the robot seemed sentient. So AI has reached the level of sentience. Okay. He got fired, never heard from him again. And he went on some shows and whatnot, and then he disappeared, as far as I know. And that was a way to create attention on that. Google's out front on AI. They also, as another example, because all news is good news, Anthropic recently brought their two models out that was, just heralded as the greatest thing ever, and the U.S. government shut it down within a day or so. And all the pontificators like myself talked about it. It was on all the YouTubes, it was on all the blogs or whatever, the socials. And then the other day, they said, it's back. We have it back. And now everybody talks about it again. So internet is full of guys like us constantly creating content, and the big boys know how to use us for their behalf. So just be aware of that. Now, I'm going to tell you, as realtors, if I was a realtor again, I would be creating content in any place that would allow me to put it up. That will get
anywhere.
That will get you your AI. That will get you. Now, there's specific ways that I might do and little tricks that work today. But one of the problems from day one has been that most people, when you to them say about SEO 20 years ago, it's a con job. They see it through the glasses of the lenses of, I'm doing a con job on Google. And at times we did.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm all for a con job. I'm running one right now on LMs to see how far I could take it, but it won't last. Right. It's just like the parasite pages. At one point in the business, the Pulse page in LinkedIn was crushing it. It was guaranteed, man. If you had a decent keyword that was long tail, you were going to rank, and you didn't have to do squat to make it rank. It was very cheap top rankings. Google got wind of the manipulation, and that means not the manipulation, but that it's really bad traffic, like bad people or bad products or whatever,
right,
were going on there.
Right.
So
I mean, we've covered a lot of different stuff and how Google is working, how Google's going to evolve, ChatGPT, Claude, everything else. If you were an agent, as we finish up here, if you were an agent and you had to worry about Google and you had to worry about this and the reputation marketing, you wanted to get found, you're doing your business, you want to grow, how can what we're talking about, and notice I didn't use either AI or SEO, how can what we're talking about, what would you do if you're an agent getting started doing business and you want to grow by being found? How do you do that really quickly?
Try to get an understanding of on a basic level without going into the weeds of technology about how it works. And I didn't go into all the earlier. I said there's two things that get into Google: the on page and the off page. The on page and the off page can be anywhere. Some off pages and on pages work better than others, like Pulse used to. Pulse, even today, Pulse is going to do better than yours or my or anybody in the audience's website because it's
right.
So there's that. So be ubiquitous, but that's not new. It's just,
there we go.
Dude, be everywhere. If you have extra time, make a video. If you have, I did that after we talked the other day. I went on because I reminded myself of some things, and I went on and I made a video. It was like a minute, and I put it to all the socials and to YouTube. It's not that hard. Gary V has been saying, the famous Gary V has been saying for a while that he does something like 600 pieces a day. All right, so if that dude could do it, then, I mean, we all have your content. Let me put it this way. People are probably going, I don't know what to talk about. What do you talk about 10 minutes ago when the dude called you up asking about, the 3-bedroom over in wherever, near the golf course? What did you say? Hi, this is Tim. I just talked to a guy asking about my listing at 123 Apple Street, the 3-bedroom, and I forgot to mention it to him, and I got to get back to him that blah, 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 right? Or whatever. It's not writing the next great, War and Peace.
Right.
You're putting up content, and here's the thing that I want to challenge everybody on, because everybody has imposter syndrome, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And most of the people talking on the net, they have their studios and they have all this stuff. Man, just create freaking content and worry about this later, especially in real estate. You guys are all so worried about everything perfect and all that. Your superpower is your humanity. Humanity is vulnerable and fails. Put that up against AI. That's perfect and synthetic.
Yeah. I will just add one thing to that. I mean, when you saw these I have for this broadcast today, I've got a table on top of a table. Right. I got some light that I had over there that I brought out because the sun's behind me. Right. I got extension cords with my power cord and for the light. So it's equipment. I got a couple of things. But if you notice, guys, I'm using this headset from Apple. I got probably 10 years ago. It's got a different kind of plug that you have probably ever seen. It's the old, not even an RCA plug. So your equipment, if it works, it's cool. I had all the fancy shit. I had a studio. I got a studio now. It's got a backdrop. It's got everything. We decided to be here today. And not bad to look at behind me, right? And that's real. That's life.
I love what you did today.
So, I mean, it's really simple of using your surroundings. Even if you got a blank wall behind you, or you got a bookcase, or you got a bedroom, just don't have your underwear hanging out and hanging on, your laundry hanging out. That's probably not a good thing.
So but I'm not really at the Central Perk.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. Anyway, hey guys, I want to, Tim, thank you so much for coming on this week, and we'll have another great session and great. Oh, look, he's got the old hat, Tim. So before we get to the hat, I do have a question for you. How do I help you grow your business?
Well, what I'd like people to do, if they're interested in this, and as you keep saying, how do we get found? There's on the bottom, it says, leave a text. That's my Google voice right there. And I'm going to give you show notes. I'm going to give you actually 6 ways to do stuff that I didn't talk about today that will make a difference on your own, do it yourself kind of marketing that nobody's doing. I mean, you have the ability, we've had the ability for years, but let me put it this way. I've had millions of impressions on just one thing I've done and what I'm going to show you of people seeing my stuff. And it was free. So send it, and I'll do that. I'll give 20 minutes if you want it. And also the thing I didn't get to today is I'll show you how to rank your social media in Google.
Awesome.
And how does that.
Tim, thank you so much. As always, the hat, you have the one from 6 years ago. There's many of those around. I actually have a couple of them. So if anybody wants one of those hats, just DM me hat. Here's the other thing I want everybody to know. We are on Spotify. You can find us on Spotify. This episode will be there next week. Also, check out KGCI EXP Radio. We're on that now starting in a couple of weeks. So we're really excited about that kind of expansion. As always, Tim, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you real soon. And also just stay on until we go out. Everybody, thank you so much. Happy 4th of July. Happy 250th birthday to America.
Happy America's birthday, guys.
See you all next week. Tim, thank you. We'll see you soon.